Paranormal Dimensions is a regular feature on Mondays on the Paranormal UK radio network. Any opinions or comments made by any guest are their own, and they do not necessarily reflect any of the presenters or network's opinions.
This man in the saucer, can you describe him?
Well, sir, he was small and skinny. He had his head was pointed, came to a very sharp point. He had long green hair. His eyes were a sort of purplish red. He had large ears which were formed like an antenna. His teeth were perfect, but spread far apart. And I noticed, too, a jacket of some sort of spun glass and bright red metallic hues.
You say this all took place in a few seconds. Mr. Nagelschmidt, can you tell me what color tie I'm wearing?
I'm sorry, sir. I didn't notice.
You mean to say you can remember everything about this man from the spaceship, his hair, the color of his eyes, the clothing he was wearing, and yet, after all this time, you can't tell me the color of my tie?
But you didn't come out of a flying saucer.
Hello, this is Malcolm Robinson and you're listening to the Paranormal UK radio network, the UK's biggest paranormal network, and this is Paranormal Dimensions with David Young.
Going to be definitely interesting, something you don't want to miss.
Hello and welcome to another Paranormal Dimensions. Thank you for joining me once again, and if this is your first time, welcome. Thank you for that introduction, Malcolm. I hope everyone's keeping well. As always, thank you for the messages that you send me. Now, if you don't realise, there is a Facebook page dedicated to the show, Paranormal Dimensions. If you search it out on Facebook, you can actually leave comments on there as well. But otherwise, if you want to contact me, my email address is davidyoung2qn@yahoo.co.uk. That's davidyoung2qn@yahoo.co.uk. But please come along and check out the Facebook Paranormal Dimensions page, where you can often see photos of people that are on the show and also pictures that they send me to put on the page. Right, okay. Today's guest is Mr. Bill Rooke. He's known as Alien Bill Rooke to his friends and to just about everybody. Just before I introduce Alien Bill, as he's known, I'm going to read a little bit from the back cover of Mary Rodwell's book called Awakening. On the cover it says, how extraterrestrial contact can transform your life. So on the back it says, many people around the world from all walks of life believe themselves to be in regular contact with beings from outer space. Now Mary Rodwell has actually worked with many of these people. Now also she goes on the back of the book, Mary claims they are not products of overactive imaginations, quite the opposite. They are real and happening to normal, healthy people. Some people are aware of it, but many are completely in the dark, as ET encounters occur in numerous ways. The process of waking up to this multidimensional reality is not always easy, but the results are positively life-changing, such as spiritual transformation and expanded awareness. She goes on at the end, are you ready to ask, am I experiencing alien contact? Well, our guest today is Bill Rooke, and you will hear his own experiences, some of them quite amazing, as I'm sure you'll find. So, without further ado, Mr. Bill Rooke. Hello, Bill. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, David. Good to hear from you again.
It's lovely to speak to you, Bill. When was it we first met? I think it was about 2015 in Glasgow, wasn't it?
No, 2015, I was in Edinburgh.
Oh, maybe it was in
Glasgow would have been the year after.
Or the year before. Oh, 2000, I don't know. Anyway, it was round about then.
2016.
Round about then it was, wasn't it?
Yeah,
when I went up to, when Peter Robbins came over, I think it was 2016, wasn't it? No, it was
16. Peter came over here to do the Rendersham stuff.
Yeah, sorry, the years go so quick, I'll get mixed up with what was what. But anyway, anyone not knowing who Bill Rooke is, you've had some amazing experiences over your life, haven't you? With, we don't really know where they come from, do we, these beings? But I suppose we call them light beings, don't we? That's what I've titled the show.
Light beings, that's right.
Yeah.
Paul Sinclair also calls them, he turned the word, our good friend Paul Sinclair, which a lot of your listeners will know about, and you know yourself about Paul, and his amazing stuff he's done.
Yeah, he's been on the show a couple of times, Paul.
And
I think your name's been mentioned, though.
Terminology ILF, intelligent light beings.
Yeah.
That first came from Paul Sinclair.
Right.
And he's right, there is an intelligence about them. There's a consciousness with this light.
Yeah, sure.
Has a purpose, for certain. And Paul well knows that, as I do, and other folk.
Yeah. What I wanted to mention about when we first met was, when I first met you, whether it was Glasgow 2015 or 16 or whatever, you were showing me a load of photographs and they were absolutely amazing. It blew my socks off because you carried
it was in the cafeteria.
In the cafeteria, that's right.
At Glasgow University, and I opened some files up today and you sat with some friends of ours from Scotland.
Yeah, we was all having a cup of coffee and you were showing me some photos and it blew my mind. Because you always carry your laptop and a file about with you, and
my cosmic haversack.
Your cosmic haversack, yeah. I mean, it goes everywhere with you, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
When did you start taking? Did you start getting these experiences? How far back?
Well, first memory, which I've already written it in my book. Will be published this year.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the book later.
5 years old.
5 years old?
So I won't take your pictures then.
Right.
So you know, it's strange, you know, on planet Earth, a lot of people sort of between like 4, 5 and 6 year old have these connections, and it's global. It's happened to a lot of folk. And a lot of them go back, millions of them, not thousands, millions of folk do, to the childhood. It's a bit like what you've seen in the Spielberg documentaries and movies and the mini-series that he did. Beings and ETs and other terrestrial things from other dimensions generally come across folk first when they're children. Spooks.
Well, I'll tell you what, Bill, I mean, can I just jump in there? Because you might be able to tell me what this is. I don't know if I've ever told you this story. It's only a short story. I've mentioned it on this show a few times before. When I was a child, I was standing in my cot, and into the room came a purple mist swirling around, and it scared the life out of me. And it was swirling around, it came over, and then it sort of swirled around the room, and I was screaming, and my father came in, and I said to him, look, can't you see it? And he couldn't see it. Now, I couldn't talk, and I think it was before I could talk, but I'm sort of saying, can't you see it, sort of thing, in kiddie language. And he couldn't see it, but I could. But it scared the life out of me. And I asked him sort of years later, when I was a teenager, do you remember that time? And he still remembered that as well. Have you got any idea what that might have been then, from my childhood?
No, the thing that's got me there though is that it frightened you.
Yeah, it did.
When I had my first connection, it wasn't coloured like yours, purple or mist. It was just a bright white light all around me. It was almost like being wrapped in a duvet. Although when I was 5 years old, there wasn't duvets around on planet.
See, that's why I remember it so well, because it did.
The light I remember coming round to me, it felt comforting, and I was at peace. 5 years old. And my father, it was on Christmas Eve, had come in just after midnight, being out as most folk did on Christmas Eve, been having his bottles of stout and stuff that they drank in those days. And he was very old-fashioned, my dad, like Victorian type. And he come upstairs, and he never used to leave at that time Christmas presents under a Christmas tree. He'd leave her in the bedroom, including my sister's bedroom, at the end of the bed. He didn't do under the Christmas tree thing. I don't know why.
Oh.
I was sharing a bedroom at the time with my half brother, and he comes up, And I heard him saying, I'd already got up about 5 minutes before that, and I felt this light coming, nothing to do with Santa, on Christmas Eve, obviously. But he comes into the bedroom, and he saw I'd opened the bedroom curtains, because they were usually shut, and I opened them, because I wanted to see more of this light that was coming in. And he comes in and says, shouted downstairs to me, stepmother, our Billy is stood at the window with his hands up, and all the bedroom's glowing with light, and there ain't a bloody light on. I think I've had too many bottles of stout.
As you would, yeah.
And I could hear him behind me, but I took no notice of him. I didn't respond to him at all. I was concentrating on this light that had come to me. So I heard him then say, I'm going downstairs, I'll come back up in 10 or 15 minutes, and he'd probably gone back to bed, and I'll put the prezzies there. So he did come back up in it, and I was still there, in the same position, my hands up at the window, and all this light around me. And I heard him shout down again to stepmother, our Billy is still at the window, with his hands up, and all these lights are still on in the room. I don't know what hell's going on. I don't want to know. And I ain't leaving any presents here. When we got up the next morning to Christmas Day, the presents were under the Christmas tree. And he never mentioned that to me at all. He went into it. His forte. So that was my start when I was 5 years old, 13 decades ago. It was decades on before I always felt something was around me all the time. But before I started getting the camera out and filming, got a few telepathic messages and things. If I wanted to go on this journey, whatever, and do here, and I start filming, and it was decades on before I started filming them. And you know, since then, I've taken hundreds of thousands of pictures just in the last 11 to 12 years.
Oh, I've seen a load of them. You've taken loads of them, haven't you?
Yeah.
And you had this experience about you could sort of your hand used to light up.
That was right, yeah. This was from 2009, almost again near Christmas time, 21st of December 2009, in the front garden. And I sensed on this visit something had happened to me. And like as doing the light beams, if you put on your poster for this show, which was very apt, and it's good you put on the poster. Thanks for that, Dave.
Well, I do try to accommodate to find something that will suit.
Well, strangely enough, these light beam entities, which some people says lightning in the front garden, and you can look through the photograph. You've seen this picture anyway, and it's going to be a major one in my book. And as I was stood out, I says to Vic just before 12 o'clock on 21st December, this was at Christmas Eve, 2009. I just got this sort of message, something's going to happen. She said, what do you mean? And I think it was about -8 or something that night. And she says, you're not going to a field, are you? I says, no. I said, I have to go outside though, something's going to happen. I was still at the front door and she's waiting, watching with me, and nothing's happening, and then she's freezing, obviously being -8. She says, sure, you silly bugger, I'm off to bed. And I thought, well, I'm going to wait. Something ain't right. And then I suddenly went and checked my camera, and I didn't have a fully charged battery up. I thought, bugger, I should have checked on my cameras. So anyway, put the camera on charge really quick, went outside, and I only got halfway down my front path, and all my front garden turned, but I could see with naked eye, a terracotta colour. A light appeared. I thought, what the hell's that? Anyway, I didn't see the beings in this terracotta energy that lit up in my front garden till I took the picture. And on it, there's about 7 beings from about, I don't know, I'm just looking at the picture now, next to working out the size of my front edge. From about 6 or 7 foot tall, one hovering in mid-air, which is chopped off from the picture, and then another 4 of them on the ground overlapping each other, where they'll be about, they must be at least 10 or 11 foot high. They've got to take a human form, but not skeleton. They're made out of just light, basically. The light beings. But what's supposed to be looking like an arm on them is glowing. From a few of them, all in light was supposed to be like an arm out. That is when, the next day after that, when I was going out to my fields and even going to the pub, my left arm started feeling like somebody had shoved in it. Started round about 6 o'clock at night, of living lead pipe in it.
Right.
It went really heavy, and I'm walking around like an orangutan with my left arm. Thinking, what the hell's happened there? But then I sensed I was supposed to photograph my left arm. And as you know, David, when I started doing that, and I'm doing it in front of people, but they couldn't see it with the naked eye, all this white energy started appearing on my left arm, which lasted for 4 years. And I've done that in loads of places in front of witnesses. When I've been sat at stools at bars, in pubs in York, when this has happened to me, I said, I'm being contacted again, something's happened to my arm. And they go, what are you on about, Bill? I'm thinking, look, how many Budweisers you had? So I was getting a basic £300 digital camera out.
Other beers are available.
The guy says to me, photograph your arm now with my camera. Let's see what happens. The photograph there is, and it come out normal human flesh colour. Says, give it back to me. I photographed mine, which you couldn't see with naked eye, and I told them some energy was in it. And on my picture, it'd be white out. The wall was glowing around my left arm. And that puzzled a lot of people. I did that for years, for loads of people. Yeah.
Wow, that is quite amazing, isn't it? So, do you think it ever did you any harm? I mean, and also, why do you think you were chosen, do you think?
It isn't just me. Loads of people have been, for whatever reasons.
No, I do understand that. I know what you mean.
I don't know. I can't answer that.
I know you don't think of yourself as anything special.
No. It's just stuff that happens to folk, and if you want to sort of rock and roll with the universe and full of all its mysteries,
yeah.
You decide to, or you decide not to.
I'm just wondering if they must have seen something in you that, you know.
Well, yeah, I've always been, like, interested in nature and trees and, the planet, all that being in order and everything. And as now, I've just seen, over the years, I've been touching trees and other things, and all the trees have started glowing and things happening. And my next door neighbours, their bush is growing in my book. It used to be about 12 or 13 foot tall. Get back to about 9 foot now, but they've watched me film that for years, and all these energies suddenly started appearing from it. To Roy's wife, to bless her, Val, who's from Glasgow, when she come out with the loppers to trim the bush down a bit, she'd ask me, can I cut this bit of branch off here, Alien Bill? What disconnects you with it? She'd ask if it was okay. I said, that's fine, Val. I said, if you were right down to the daisy roots of it, and I put my hand out there, and now I've been connected with this bush, something will still happen. And I took hundreds of pictures of that bush with strange things happening around it. There's trees now outside, like the Fox and Roman pub. I started doing trees and that a lot more. And going out of the pub like at 8 o'clock at night, when it was winter, and telling people I can see something happening, that tree over the road, and people are looking in the bay window at the pub over the road from York Racecourse. Go, what's he going doing? And they watch me put my hands on this tree and step back. Then I come back in, because you know you get done about, you fix things, you're doing, photoshopping on a computer or something. Then I come back in the pub and show them the basic digital camera. Look at that then. And they just gossamer. Wow, we saw you doing something out there. Where the hell's that come from? I said, I don't really know. But I'm just supposed to do it. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, because I mean, even you don't know who or what these beings are, do you, really? You can only guess, I think.
No, I don't. No.
I mean, do you think they're interdimensional? Well, they're obviously interdimensional, but do you think they're extraterrestrial as well, or?
The interdimensional things, definitely, hitting nails on there. A lot of it is. Dennis Hanna, who I do Zoom and stuff with, you know this, and Nigel Wright, Malcolm, Kathy Cogliano from Massachusetts and stuff. We talk a lot about interdimensional. Actually, so does Paul Sinclair. Tons of stuff, including dodgy spooks, that comes through dimensional aspects. A lot of it comes from that.
Yeah. And it does seem to come up a lot on this show now. And the strange thing is, that's why I called this show Paranormal Dimensions, actually, because I thought a lot of things that are sort of interdimensional, and that's where the title came from. Even
with some UFOs, you see, and I've seen 3, what they call the cigar-shaped craft, and I never see them, when I've seen them, flying off. They'll fly over a bit, then they'll stop for a second, and then they'll, like, implode on themselves.
Yeah, they just disappear, don't they?
Disappear. I don't see them shooting off into the stratosphere, heading out of Earth's atmosphere. They go in on themselves, and again, I think this is another dimensional aspect going on.
Yeah. I mean, Philip and Ronald, we sort of we conjectured that maybe there's 2 types of They could be interdimensional and extraterrestrial, using the same travel highway, if you like, the same sort of method of transport.
And it's not magic or anything spooky.
Oh yeah, no, of course not.
It's just high technology.
It's obviously their science that they're
thousands of years.
Yeah.
You think how far the human race has come on now in just the last 200 years?
Yeah, that's right.
Think of any other races that have been around for 1,000 years or hundreds of thousands of years. What on earth technology they would have? It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, I mean, do you think they're actually interested in our dimension for a particular reason?
Well, just a bit even more so, because we're beginning now to click onto what they can do and up to. We're treading on the toes a bit, basically. So they're taking more close watch on us, because we're not such a good planet, are we?
No, that's what I'm saying. Do you think that they see us as a danger to them?
Quite a lot of them do, and they've good reason to. We're not very pally-wally, most people, with things. Never mind looking after planet Earth, for goodness sake.
Yeah. Have you actually had any types of messages from them to that respect?
Do you know, Nick Carl that I know, as you know, from Scotland, another folk, and Alex Lovelock, you know well, and not much these folk get, many get, they sometimes get long sentences chats. I'm lucky if I get about 6 words, Dave.
Yeah.
But when they send me them, they're important. But I don't get long chats with them. They just send me little short messages at times, if I want to do this, that, and other, or where to go.
Yeah.
And stuff.
And how does that come in words, or is it like a message in your mind, or? In
my mind. Yeah. I can be in a pub sometime, and even at 9 o'clock at night, you know, I've filmed for 10 years at St Edward Confessor Church over near York Racecourse. I've been 10 years filming there. And I've taken hundreds of pictures of all strange things around there. And sometimes, I said to my friends one time, I just got a full bottle of Budweiser, and they says, usually go over there about 11
Other beers are available.
Yeah. And
we can't advertise on you.
Yes. And I say, I'm off to the church. He says, to go, Bill, you just got a Budweiser, so we'll look after it. And I tell him, I said, I've just had a message. He says, what did you get? And all I got on this time was, church come.
Right.
And I thought, I don't usually go there till 12 o'clock at night, when it's quieter and everybody's going away, and I can concentrate in the car park around the back of it, touching the plants and the trees, and do some communication I do around the back of this church. And I used to go when it's quieter, but I thought, I'm getting this repeated in my head. Sometimes when I hear it, Dave, I've asked people, which was a stupid thing to do, did you hear that? But it's in my head. But I hear it so clearly, I think somebody else has heard it with the lug holes. And of course they don't. Yeah. No, I know what you mean. Do you think sometimes you're imagining it as well, or? Oh no, because when I go and do this, I catch things on camera. And on that night when this happened at 9 o'clock, I thought I don't usually go over there at 9 o'clock on a Friday night. Anyway, I went because I got this message and it seemed they wanted me to go for some reason. So I went over early. It was in winter time. I went round the back, and as I got round back of it, about, I'd say, 150 feet or so in the air, this bronze-coloured, it was a bronze colour, orb appeared. 100 odd feet in the air. And I thought, oh, was it you calling me? And I actually told him up. I says, I was just in the middle of having Budweiser. Could you wait till I chat to him and do these things with him. Right, okay, what you got me here for? And then I thought, I'm looking at it way up in the sky. I thought, well, you should come closer now you've got me out of the pub and come here. As I was doing that, and it was, and a lot of times I say to them, come closer, they do. Yeah. To move in around me. I've done this in Hastings. I'll go back to that in a minute. Anyway, when I said to this bronze-coloured orb in the sky to come closer, the back doors of the church opened. Unbeknown to Alien Bill, Friday night, was Scouts night. Out comes all these kiddies doing tag-of-war and all scouty things to get up to. The minister, I think he's called Richard, he hadn't been there long, but had met me on occasion, and he sees me because his house is at the back of the church, and they've watched me through the window filming things at night. And his wife, I think, said science teacher, and she can't get over what I'm filming, found it a bit puzzling. Anyway, they comes out back of there with the scoutmaster, and he actually knew me from the pub over the road. It's always Alien Bill. And then I looked at this orb in the sky, and I told it to stay away, in case it spooked the children. Come out. I didn't know they were coming out then. And they're going, what's that fella there? Oh, I said, oh, just leave him, he just does his stuff. But then I spoke to this orb, just back away. Because if it came too close and they saw it visibly, I didn't want the kiddies getting scared. So we left it at that. I said, I'll come back later. So I went back over the road and just left. And did go back later and got other visits from there. But saying that, talking to these orbs and responses, so it shows there's an intelligent response. When I was in Hastings a few years ago, I used to go see Malcolm Robinson, as you know, when he lived there for, I don't know, about 13 or 14 years. I'd stay in the Jenny Lind Hotel, not far from the seaside front. Mal's Street was Croft Road, just round back of it. But there was a church there, and I'd have a double aspect windows that we'd got. I think it was room 4 in Jenny Lind. Brilliant pub and that to stay in. And they happened to know me there with what I used to film around there all the time. And I liked it that I had a rear window where the church round the back, which was filmed on Foyle's War a lot, when they filmed a lot of Foyle's War in Hastings. So this alleyway around back of it, on this night, I was going to go out, but there were some drunks that spotted me early on, and I went to the back door of the pub to go up the alleyway to go outside to the filming, and I could hear up the alleyway that Alien Bill guy's in there. But he always comes out late at night, 12 or 1 o'clock and things, filming. I could hear him waiting. I thought, they're going to muck up something I'm going to try and do here. So I didn't bother, so it got to 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, fix and keep in bed. I opened the rear window of our room, which overlooked the church, and lo and behold, 3 orbs appeared hovering over the church, like doing a triangular effect, not in a line, triangular shape. It wasn't a UFO, it was orbs. They were big, about size of 2 or 3 basketballs. So I said to these orbs, for a change, let me just film you where you are. Could one of you, to show we've got an intelligence and a connection here, do something for me? So I said, I want one of you to come, and the back end of the church I could see, there was a few gravestones and that, come into, over the railings there, and I pointed to it, into that graveyard. And let me just film one of you there. And a second later, I saw this streak of light, and one went and hovered, separate from the other 3, or the 2 left behind, 12 foot over near the church window, over some gravestones. And I took pictures of that. So again, you see, that showed an intelligent response with these entities. Yeah. And that was a good old Hastings.
Yeah.
There you go.
I mean, not all of your meetings have been that friendly, have they? You told me once about a shadow being that was attacking you.
No, yeah, I must state from the off, not anything that's black and dark and other things is bad. That's a misnomer with things, you know, like, it's not right. But, yeah, I had been. First one I came across was at the end of my bed, a few years ago. I didn't film it, obviously I didn't have my camera in bed with me. But I just woke up about 2 o'clock in the morning and suddenly felt this pressure on my chest. And I thought, what's that with my chest? Well, I woke up and looked, so I'm holding my chest, and only could see, well, nearly 3/4 of it, because the bed's not very high. A black inch there, silhouetted, no clothes on, there's a silhouette of a human form. And as I sat up and I thought, oh, you're a bad bugger, just sense it straight away. You don't see me. And I felt this pressure coming in, and then it leant towards me. The thing was then, my little dog Rocky, that I had at the time, I lost about, I don't know, maybe a year ago.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago, was it? I remember.
Yeah, about a year ago. And he's been back to see us 8 times as Rocky.
Has he?
With his spirit. Yeah, he has. Yeah, I managed to catch him on film because it happens too quick.
That's nice to know, isn't it?
But it is nice, yeah, it's comforting. It happens to a lot of folk that have had critters, so it's good. So something's going on there. Anyway, this shadow thing at end at bed was leaning up towards me, Rocky's keeping on end at bed, Vic's fast asleep next to me, and I'm shouting at it really loud, f***ing it, for coming to me, trying to cause me bothering. And what got me was, then I'm shouting, I'm looking at my little dog Rocky at end at bed, fast asleep. He should have woke up just as soon as I sat up. The disturbance in the bed would have woke him up, and he was like comatose. Vic was Sparko, and I'm having a barney with his black shadow. So anyway, that was my first encounter with shadow beings and that.
Yeah.
And I did feel this pressure on me. I found out later with a guy called Barry Fitzgerald that I met at Glasgow Uni, came over from Sligo in Ireland, I started getting more and more crampy in my legs and other stuff. And he told me he was more clued about shadow beings than I was. some of them are almost like vampires.
Yeah.
And try and drain you and catch you at a weak time to do something to control you or just wipe you out. And he says, when you get back to Yorkville, go to see a GP and have a blood test done. And when I did, they says, how the hell are you walking about? So I said, I've even been cycling, I'm getting all these cramps in my leg. And I have to stop and I can't even ride my bike hardly. And they says, you have to go on really strong iron pills for 6 months. And you better take every blooming one, because there's hardly any iron in you. Barry Fitzgerald, when I met him at Glasgow, came to Glasgow conference, said to me, I noticed some of these beings for draining iron out of humans' bodies to weaken them. Oh, right, bugger hell, I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
So, then the one you said after that, then a few months after that, Vic saw one about 2 morning, hovering outside bedroom window. And she didn't tell me. And we were sat with Barry Fitzgerald at his hotel in Glasgow, where he met all my X-Files out on my laptop and everything. And we're talking to all this, because after that, for 2 years, I did photograph black shadow beings around me, but not upright, on the floor, in the living room, my back garden, front garden, farmers' fields I went to. I got stalked for 2 years for them, but none upright. The one upright I tried to get, which I connected with Nick Callum in the pub car park years ago, some orbs appeared about as big as little bowling balls outside the door when I was leaving the pub, flying around me, going frantic, like ping pong balls, you know, the machines when they're doing lottery or something. And all these orbs are flying around me. And I said, what are you lot doing here? And they were going nuts. And I thought, what's wrong with them? They don't usually do all that. I said, I'm coming to field to see you about. So I know that. Then they disappeared. I went over to my bike. This is where you said I got attacked, which I did do. I was unlocking my D-lock, and I just sent hairs up back of my neck go up. And I thought, something's behind me. So I turned around and had a look, and there was this blooming big shadow being, silhouetted, human form, but it must have been 6'9", 6'10". Huge. Come out, but it came through a big edge, which was about 25 foot long, about 12 foot high, just walked through it, and was just stood behind me. But as I was looking at it, it was like shimmering. Like it was like, I thought, oh, he's struggling to be either in our environment or something. It was like shaking. Anyway, they come to it. So I backed away from it, got my camera quick out of my haversack, and I thought, oh, bloody hell, this is what I think it was like behind me, it was at the end of my bed of a month. I wonder if it's the same one, but it looked the same. And I did feel it wasn't a good boy at all. I thought, oh, here we go. Right. Let's get on with this then. Didn't spook me. When I told my friends some of them had been in the military and rugby lads and that, they said that they legged it. Says, you stand there chatting to it, get your camera out, Bill. Says, we just bloody ran away. I said, no, I don't do that. Stuff that. Anyway, I stepped away from it so I get a camera shot, and it was not translucent at all. You couldn't see the hedge to its body and the street lamps behind it, and I thought, this is going to make a fantastic picture. So I'm writing to me for, you know what I'm like for taking pictures.
Yeah.
Well, I get this on camera, this is going to be brilliant. So I'm focused on picture, I'm give the monkeys what this entity wanted to do with me. I wasn't worried about that. I thought, well, I'll sort this out. So I started shooting camera at it. First, because it was pretty good silhouetted against the street lamps behind the edge, I did it without the flash on. And I looked on back at my digital camera, nothing. I thought, well, I've got the edge of the street lamp. Where's this bloody shadow bloke? So I thought, bugger that. So I fired it off a few times, thought maybe the camera's malfunctioned. Nothing. I thought, where is he? So then I'm switching to flash. Still nothing, just was naturally there. And then I switched to video. Still nothing. While I'm doing all this entity's coming towards me, shaking. As it was coming, it was like juddering. It was really weird how it came towards me. But it put its hands up, and its hands were massive. And I even said to it jokingly, oh, you got Sasquatch mitts. There's Bigfoot, you're big hand, you're big mitts, aren't you? And it seemed to be quite muscular. I even joked saying, he's been working out in the gym recently, mate. Whatever. Anyway, as it got towards me, it was putting his hands, not touching me, within about a foot in my face. And I sensed then it was trying to get to my eyes, where you say your cosmic soul, and there's an entrance to get in there, and it didn't like me wearing my Ray-Bans. and stuff. And my glasses flew off. It didn't touch me, they just flew off. And I felt myself being levitated only about 6 or 7 inches off the grass I was on, luckily, and thrown backwards. So I thought, bugger that, I was right annoyed. First thing I thought was, you better not bust my Ray-Bans. Oh, they cost me nearly 400 quid. So I went and got them back on. As you do that to me again, we've got a problem here, pal. I'm telling it off. Anyway, I was done over umpteen times, and sometimes it just stayed stationary. You couldn't say it was looking at me, because I couldn't see any eyes, it was just black. But I thought, bugger, I can't film it. It seems like it wants to hang about a bit, and it's got a problem with me. So I thought, well, am I going to get any evidence of this? So my mobile phone was in my haversack next to my bike. So I went back to that while this shadow man stood behind me. I'm sort of watching that with one eye, getting my mobile phone out. I thought I'll phone Nick Kyle in Glasgow, so I can at least report it to somebody. And, you know, Nick being involved in paranormal and all these other strange things that go on.
Yeah.
I thought he's a good one to phone up. By then it was probably nearly 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'd been battling around with this entity a little bit for, I don't know, half an hour, 45 minutes or whatever. I phoned Nick up, and then this entity came at me again. I was getting annoyed with it, so I cursed it and told it where it could get lost and bog off from. You don't belong with humanity. I'm going to get rid of you, you bad bugger. Oh. And then Nick answered the phone, and that's what he heard on his phone while he was in bed.
Yeah.
He thought somebody, bless him, who phoned him up was straight him. But then he recognised my voice and he went, is that you, Alien Bill? Yeah, so disturbed this time, Nick. I said, I've got a big shadow brimming bean thing here, trying to kick my butt. I said, I can't film the flipping thing. So I thought, I need to ring somebody just so I've got some sort of other evidence about it. And I like to do it, like, at the moment when things are going on. So Nick remembers that, clearly, over that. In the end, after a few times, it's just backed off at the end of this story, into the hedge, and just vaporised and disappeared. I haven't seen any since. That was my assault one. There you go.
Yeah, that was quite an experience, that one, wasn't it? We've had a couple of experiences, and when you came to, when I lived in Suffolk and you came to Rendlesham, we had a visit to Rendlesham Forest, didn't we?
Yes, great. I was right pleased to get there with you folk, Brenda and Alex. Alex Level Up, met him there first time.
Yeah, that was the first time you met him, wasn't it?
It was great. Ronnie Dugdale.
Yep.
Oh.
Now,
yeah,
a lot of people criticise the fact of orbs. Now, I think that you'll say that orbs are real, aren't they?
They're far more complex than a lot of folk realise on planet Earth, I tell you.
Yeah.
I've got Mary Rodwell done a write-up from a book on that, and some of her pictures, which I put some of hers and other folk from Australia, Yvonne Schooler and others, when I was on stage at Edinburgh University with Malcolm, first time ever and only time Malcolm has shared a stage when he's been giving one of his lectures. He's never done it ever before or since. We have partners together, as you know, at the Sinkport pub when he's done his miniature SPR lectures there.
Yeah.
You came to with your Jill in Hastings.
Yeah, I've been here a couple of times. Actually, Malcolm was on a couple of shows back. You probably heard it. You were mentioned, I believe.
That's right. Yeah. Well, as far as I know, and I'm in touch with Mary Rodwell, because you know Mary globetrots a lot. Well, she was before COVID thing kicked off.
Yeah.
For his sake. She's a big fan of orbs, and I've got a few books she recommends to me. I've read them on. Alex Lassie, that he does his Tales from the Seance cabinet. Vanessa Cole, bless her. She gets loads of orb visitors like me and all.
Really?
The thing when I was talking to her the other week was, I says, mine now used to be in the living room, but now I get loads of them when I go off to bed. And I see them flying around. One time I went in a few months ago, and wife was up there with my little dog, little fox we've got him now, he's about 10 months old. And I know about the size of a cricket ball. As soon as I walked into the bedroom, just opened door, flew up my forehead, and I headbutted it. I said to Vic, but no, I've just headbutted it. Okay, now, see what you on about? And she had his season. The little dog, Foxy has, he's come round me as I go to bed, comes and sits on my chest for a minute before he goes and curls up at the end of bed to say hi and that. Then I see an orb sometimes about the size of marbles and things, loads zooming around, and some power up and go bright white colour. And I've watched him and he's flick his head on one side suddenly. And I said to Vic, Foxy's just seen some of my orbs. And he's looking around and he's puzzled. So the critters actually Foxy sees them better than Victoria. Critters are like that for spotted things, you know, with all their senses.
Yeah, you do.
Anyway, with connection with Vanessa Coley's, I mentioned this only about a month or so ago, and a bit more, on Tales from the Saints Cabinet when Vanessa and Alex was on, and we talked about the orb thing. I said, my orbs are now shape-shifting in the bedroom, and only in the last few months they're doing something strange. They stop all flying around, crazy, and I see loads of them, and then sometimes they go into a calmer state. And the shriek, and what I've described it was, they go into like a layer of a blanket about 8 or 9 inches deep, and they turn into what I can only describe, I can see with naked eye, snowflakes. And I mentioned this to Vanessa, and guess what Vanessa says? I get the same effect, Bill. She says, you're joking. I said, that's great. And when they go into this snowflake layer, it comes down like a blanket on me, and I put my left arm, I glued all them years, as you know, and the energy's still in it, but I can't get the light on camera anymore. I can still feel the energy in it. And I put my hand up into this blanket of like snowflakes, and they start twirling around my hand and doing all strange things. And Vanessa has got the same, like, she described the same as things, snowflakes. From orbs, and they just suddenly go all calmer, and they change design. Don't ask me what that's about, I've no idea,
no.
But it's very nice.
Yeah, I know. I just wanted to get, because a lot of people do poo-poo orbs. Like you say, when I've taken photos in Rendlesham Forest, most of the pictures will just come out black. And all of a sudden you get 2 or 3 pictures that will come out all together, and you've got all these orbs in them, and then it'll just go back to black again with the next ones. So there's obviously something there, otherwise, if it was dust.
You see how you describe that, David? That's perfect. What you just said there, really, is, because a lot of people say, it's moisture in the air, and atmospheric, or all this. Well, where did the blooming moisture go then on your next camera shot?
Yeah, well, that's it.
It can't suddenly change the atmosphere.
Yeah, if
it's got moisture in it, it's foggy or anything else, it's there all the time.
That's right. As I say, if it's moisture or dust in the air, it would be there on every picture, wouldn't it?
Of course it would.
Because you do see dust floating about.
All the time, the holiday shots and everything else, but they don't.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I do agree with you with that. I mean, there are probably certain times when you do catch some dust particles in a, if the sun,
you can tell on the photographs when you examine them.
Yeah.
The thing is, where I'm going to blow wide open on this next year, Malcolm, with a guy called Darren Garcia, that Malcolm's worked with for years in Hastings. I've met him, and we've done some other little video shoots and chats and things that have gone in, and his shows that he puts on websites and stuff. We're going to do a DVD next year on, as far as I know, and I've asked Mary Rodwell, bless her, and other people that are into orbs, Mary in particular, because she gets around a bit on lectures going around the planet and stuff. Tell me, Mary, have you ever come across anybody that's filmed a talking orb? Because at a Leeds conference years ago, I meant to meet Richard Dolan and some other folk, and Mary for the first time, and Steve Mera, and that was there, and I'm sat with Mary. I missed this American guy doing his lecture, and she says, I'm supposed to sit with you, Mary, and so I have something to show you. So I got my laptop out, and she was going through all my light beam pictures and other stuff, which she had a good connection with. She also said some of these light beings, unbeknown to me, connect with a lot of ancestors from Native American Indians.
Oh, right.
And she says, you must get in touch with this lassie. It was a great-great-granddaughter of some other chiefs and other ones that have all these connections. But she says some of the Native American Indians have a way of calling them in. I don't do any chanting to call in. They just come to me whenever they wish. I don't do any chanting or anything. Anyway, this orb, I showed on laptop, and Steve Mary was curious, as Mary watching it. This was in a field in York, and up to now, and Mary will tell me, as soon as she finds anybody else that sees it, but Barry Fitzgerald is the only other one on planet Earth in Sligo in Ireland has got a copy of it. Sent it over to him on a disc, and he did some software work on it and stuff to see what was going on. This orb appeared amongst about 30 odd. They were pale beige colour, lighting up to me in a field in York a few years back. But I think I took about, I don't know, 30 or 40 pictures of them, loads of them, and I've got a little bit of a farmer's fence in the background and the crop in the field on the still pictures. So I was very pleased to get them. The next day, after being out in the fields until 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, I downloaded the pictures the next day about in the afternoon at 3 o'clock or something, and then something weird happened on my computer. And the still frame, 3 still frames, 7, 8 and 9, suddenly switched to audio and video.
Oh, I remember you saying that, yeah.
And I thought, what the hell's happened there? I didn't do any video. Then I'm looking at the image, and there's just blackness, and this one orb started talking. It had also not a slit mouth like a human, oval-shaped sort of mouth, more round, a bit elongated, and it's making some weird audio. It doesn't last long. It's only about 6 seconds, 7 seconds. I mean, but the thing in that time is it stopped, started again, stopped, started again. Did it 3 times. On the last shot, the orb design of it disappears. The last shot with the strange sound on looks like a reptilian scale effect. And every time it was making this odd noise, the skin on whatever entity it was shook like a rattlesnake and was shaking every time it made a noise. And it only happened for these few seconds. But the thing with that is, I have still got that on a memory card. Obviously, when I put the memory card back into the camera, just the still photos show up. All of them. Only when I put that memory card years ago into my computer did it change to audio and 3D effects from this entity, whatever it was. Then I very carefully analysed all the pictures I took, and I could see a pattern changing around the top bit of one of the orbs, about the size of a bit bigger than a football, had a pattern on top of it. When you look at when it changed to 3D video with audio on it, that pattern's still there. So one of these orbs somehow manifested itself, changed form into 3D, took over my camera, and videoed itself.
Wow.
And even on the video, all the field, I was stood in exactly the same place. You can't see the crop in the field. It was quite a moonlit night. You can't see the bit of farmer's fence. All that's gone. Apart from this orb where now it's shape-shifted, which it did some sort of shape-shifting, behind it is just blackness. So we're doing a DVD on that, me and Malcolm, down Garcia next year, and we're going to put it all together about orbs and then finish it off with the talking orb.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
Great, isn't it?
even Malcolm was a bit of a sceptic about orbs, wasn't he, at one time, but I think he's come around.
Oh, for years.
He's actually come around a bit now, isn't he?
He's jumped off the fence on that one now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, you might be pleased to know I've got Mary Rodwell on the show in a couple of weeks as well.
Oh, brilliant!
So
Good.
you have to have a listen to that. And no doubt we'll mention you.
Yeah, she sent me a good write-up for the book, Mary, bless her. And that was good. Right. Shall we get on to Scotland stuff? I'm going to Scotland in
Yeah,
a few
good.
weeks.
So you take it where you like, Bill. Yeah, you go to...
And Rosslyn Chapel, because I filmed things at Rosslyn Chapel, I know nobody's ever filmed there before. And I was there, and it must be because of COVID and that, probably 18 months, 2 years ago. But I was always destined to go to Rosslyn Chapel. So eventually I've got there.
Now, for our international listeners, Rosslyn Chapel is situated where?
Oh, it's about 7 or 8 miles outside Edinburgh.
Yeah, that's it.
And you know it's to do with the Da Vinci Code and all that thing we did in the movie with Tom Hanks and stuff.
Yeah.
And the Knight Templars and the Holy Grail and everything. When I actually went there in the daytime first, but I did all this on the same day, went with some friends there, I went into the chapel area, and Paul Sinclair has found out on the stained glass window in near the chapel area that goes a bit underground, you go down a little flight of stairs, he has actually got on the stained glass window Sinclair logo. And Paul Sinclair only found out a year or so ago when he went through his family tree, he was connected to an earl in Scotland, Sinclair, who had something to do with the designing with Roslin Chapel and doing Masonic things and the Knight Templar stuff and all that. And he's a relative of Paul Sinclair's. He was dumbstruck. So we photographed. You're not supposed to take pictures anyway in there. But Vic took some sneak on. Take a picture of that stained glass window, Vic. And I'll send it to Paul. It's got his family logo on it. But when I went in there, my left arm, if we go back to the left arm again, I felt like something had lassoed it round my wrist. It was tight as my wristwatch on it. And was pulling me towards a flagstone at the bottom of these stairs. There's loads of tourists and some Americans behind me. And I thought, what's happened here? Something just took over my left arm. And it was pulled, and it was like happening in slow motion. And I knelt down, and my hand went towards this flagstone at the bottom of the stairs on the right-hand side of me. And I felt like my hand was supposed to dematerialise and go into little molecules and not be solid. And I was supposed to put my hand through that stone to something below Roslin Chapel. I told Brian Allen, who knows a lot about Roslin Chapel, about this, which baffled him a bit. I don't know what happened there. Anyway, well, obviously my hand didn't go through the flagstone, but I was drawn to it. My hand was stuck there for a bit. And I saw these other folk going, what the hell's he doing?
Yeah.
Afternoon, in the evening, we went back, Dave. Vic went to have a kip in the friend's motor. I went back with some friends, and we were walking at 11:30 at night. We'd had a meal and drinks in called the Roslin pub in the village area. So I went back, because I knew I had to be there at night to do some filming. Checked out through the daytime, though, how to get round the back. Because you can't go to the front entrance on the night, because it's got all this souvenir shop and everything attached to it now. So you can't get anywhere near the front gates without going through the attachment souvenir thing that's stuck on Roslin Chapel. But I found out through the daytime how I could get round the back. And there's a little pathway round the back through a bit of grass and stuff. And go around back of it. And I checked it out how close I could get to Roslin Chapel. Like the railings at the back, and I thought, this'll do. So we went back there, some friends there later on. And even when we're walking down the road, I said to this fellow Andy, I said, this is going to be a good night. He said, how do you know, but we're not there yet. I said, I'm looking up over top of Roslin Chapel, and flipping out as big as about 10 basketballs, a beige coloured orb was hovering about 80 to 100 feet up over Roslin Chapel. And he couldn't see it. So I says, this is going to be a good night, orbs are there. I already know I'm coming for some reason, so I'm going to get something on camera here. And he said, I can't see that. So I stopped him in the road, pointed my digital camera and took a picture of it, well, more than one, and then just showed him on camera. I don't know why some people don't see these and I do. Can't explain that. Anyway, I got that on camera. I thought straight away that was going to be good. When we got round the back, and you go into, there's a cemetery part at the back of Roslin Chapel. As soon as I got to the iron gate, I felt everything energising up. So I started taking pictures there, and I get, on my latest Sony camera, a streak of red light. It's nothing to do with electronics in the camera. Comes on the back of the screen. And it always shoots in at a slight angle from right to left. As soon as that's happening on my camera, I know there's other life forms and energy around me. And I'm going to get loads of weird pictures. And that happened as soon as I got near the railings to this gate to the cemetery at the back of Roslin. And I did, within minutes, start getting light energies stuff all over the place, including orbs. I took loads of pictures. And sometimes, you know, they've got, like in Notre Dame, the architecture of the sculpture of the pillars and things that go up over there on the roofing. Well, Roslin has got a similar thing, like at Notre Dame and stuff, with certain sculptures on the roof and stuff. When these light energies were turning up and that, I went to the back railings and I brick wall, then the metal rails in it, so I get a clearer picture. But I told these light energies that I could only were turning up, not to block out the columns at the back of Roslin Chapel, because they're iconic, and that is known from back to front of Roslin Chapel. Don't block them out, coming either over the top of them, to the left of them, or the right of them. Well, they did exactly that. Top, left, right, and they did not block the towers out of the sculptures. So don't block those up. People know looking better, that's Roslin Chapel. and leave that alone. Stay either side of it. I took loads of pictures of them. I don't think I'm finished with Rosalind yet at all.
Right, yeah, no. Don't sound like it, does it?
Even when I was at that Rosalind anyway in the cemetery part, then I went up against the railings and actually stood on top of this little wall that the railings are embedded into, so I could get camera shots without the railings blocking the view. And I got these light energies. If we go back to latency and or light beams, whatever, anyways, white light energies. And I said, I want you in the grounds now, without the railings in the way, to move around in the grassy area at the back of Rosalind, which they did. That was interesting. But then early on before that, I also went to some gravestones at the back of the cemetery at Rosalind Chapel. And then I got, lo and behold, orbs and spirit one. But I could tell then, there's something about these orbs and never like, you can tell when some of them, you look at the designs, that are more spiritual, with a human contact. And of course I was near some gravestones, and I got some orb lighting up there, singular ones, not load. One round a gravestone, one near a little bush, one near some trees. They're different. The day before I went there, I should have mentioned going to Rosslyn the first time, Vic and I were staying in the Travelodge Hotel just down the road off Princess Street in Edinburgh, and at 1 a.m, I seemed to Vic, I'm right excited about going for the first time to Rosslyn Chapel tomorrow. This could be interesting. I hope something happens and I get something on camera for my book. And Vic had nodded off to sleep. As I was saying that, this hotel room we had at the Travelodge is the tallest bedroom we've ever been in. It must have been about 15, 14 foot tall.
Yeah, why would they make it that big?
Yeah, I thought, this has got a nice ceiling. That's weird.
Perhaps it meant to have another...
And I'm chatting about going to Rosslyn the next day. Lo and behold, and Vic had nodded off, about 10 or 12 feet above end of my bed, a white orb pit, but really not translucent, intense white, with a silver corona round the edge of it. As I was talking about going to Rosslyn Chapel, straight away even then, when I told Vic about it, because she nodded off to sleep, I said, I think it'd be okay at Rosslyn tomorrow, Vic. I said, these orbs appear. When this happened to me, I was talking about going to Rosslyn Chapel in the hotel room of it. What it did, it didn't switch off. Sometimes these orbs, they'll sort of fly backwards a bit. They've done this for me around that church in Hastings. And sometimes they go backwards and arch away from you and then just disappear. Sometimes they just switch off like a light bulb. They do all strange things. Anyway, this one appeared in this hotel room to me, and I was talking about going to Rosslyn Chapel the next day. And straight I thought, that's a good sign. Crikey, in an hotel room, this big orb, just a bit smaller than a football, with a silver corona around it, lit up. And then I'm looking, thinking, same thing as I always do, where's my cameras, all my electronics, as you do in hotels and that anyway, there's, you know, mobile phones, cameras and everything, and I do, and I plug them all in, whatever sockets there is in hotels, overnight, to recharge all the batteries and everything. So I make things juiced up. And when these orbs do appear, you don't have a lot of time to muck around getting a camera, especially if it's 18 feet away from you, to take the pictures. Just they don't often last that long. And I didn't want to move anyway because it had disturbed it. I just enjoyed the visit of it. And I thought, well, that's good. But I was just talking about going to Rosslyn next day. So I never got a picture of that because all my electronics were on all units that end at bed, being charged up. So, well, that was the night before. Straight away, so that was a good sign and all. Oh, something here.
Makes me wonder why they got such a high ceiling. Perhaps they meant to have another floor in there or something.
I don't know, but we're going back there again anyway.
Oh, yeah?
But, yeah, that's where we're staying at again. We're also staying in Alloa, Sorky, next to Malcolm, first for a few days, in the Royal Oak Hotel. So we're going to stay there, where the locals, I call the Jolly Jocks, bless them, put David Bowie music on for me.
Oh, right.
I'm a right Bowie fan. I know Bowie had E.T. Connection stuff, and he's admitted it, like loads of musicians do. So a lot of their music was inspired from the universe. And on the Orbs Again connection, and with Bowie, me and Vic on Princess Street on Sunday afternoon went for 6 hours seeing some bands on doing a mini festival down at Princess Street Gardens from about 12:30 till nearly 6 o'clock in the evening. Every group or singular artist or duets that come up, I asked them if they could play any Bowie music for me. Obviously like Starman, Life on Mars and all this, and none of them could. Oh, that's a shame, but they did start playing some other Cosmic and Universal songs that have got things to do with stars and universe in, so that was alright. But then when we left there around about just after 6 o'clock, we went to Rose Street in Edinburgh. Well, they're obviously going again, and it's well known. And I went to a pub called the Black Rose Tavern, where often has live music on, so right, we'll go down there, Vic. I'd only been there a few minutes, and a laddie turned up with his acoustic guitar called Chris Tyler. And straight away when I go in there, I say, oh, you've been at University, I've been doing lectures again on paranormal and cosmic stuff. I said, no, I've been at Glasgow at some conference, not in Edinburgh. And so I told them, I said, I want some folk on Princess Street to play David Bowie stuff for me. None of them could really do it proper, so they didn't have a go. So Chris went to Tyler, bless him. I'd seen him about 2 years before that. You remember me like he met me yesterday. For strange reason. Wait about right. I'll play that for you, mate. Gets his acoustic guitar out. Says, hang on a minute. Because he came in just as I got in there with Victoria. And said, I ain't got a Budweiser yet. I said, what to give you Budweiser? Go and find the seat for Vic. I said, I'll stand in front of you and put video on my mobile phone. So he's strumming away, and he did sing it really well. He did a good job of it, and he enjoyed doing it. I played him in to Starman for Alien Bill. So he strums away on that, did a right good job of it. When it got down to about the last 50 seconds of the song, just before that, I saw, hovering just next to me, about 2.5 feet away or so, about 10 inches off the floor, a green orb. Quite big, just smaller than a crown green bowling ball, but green, glowing. And I thought, what the heck? But I thought, right, I can't say anything, because I'm videoing him doing a right good job at David Bowie song. I didn't move the camera to it either, because I wanted to concentrate on him strumming on his guitar, and I didn't want to distract him. But I never heard anybody else say, what's that? So I thought, you know, this has happened to me before. Seen orbs of lights over dogs and things in pubs. Nobody else sees them and I do. Anyway, so this ball of light's there. I thought, I'll just wait till the end, and if it's still there and he's finished, then I'll zoom camera onto it. I didn't have to. When he got to the last bit of it, of Starman by David Bowie, it shot from the floor at about, what would it be, 60-odd degree angle, right between us. The thing still was, and I got that on video, he never saw it at all. I then went and showed the staff and him what I'd got on video. And I said, I could see that when you were getting to the back end of David Bowie song, Starman. And none of you lot saw it, so I just showed them it, and they were stunned. Nick Carl's had a look at that in Scotland and other folk. But it's amazing. But I've heard from other folk around the world, Bowie's spirit has some green energy glow about it. And he's been knocking around a bit, popping back. And there was someone with Lorraine Kelly on a TV programme ages ago. And she had somebody on talking about David Bowie and his music and Starman and Life on Mars and other stuff. And suddenly in the studio, and she said, I don't think she's got right airy arms, I didn't make her, but Lorraine Kelly. But she did say she got a tingling sensation in her arms as we were talking about Bowie and his music and stuff. Suddenly, live on the TV studio, when she was on, and she sensed something weird was happening, all the lights went off in the studio, except the green ones. That was strange, wasn't it?
Very strange, blimey.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to try and explain that one.
It's a big ball of light in the Black Rose Tavern in Rose Street, while we played Bowie music. There you go.
There you go. I thought, actually, when you started, I thought you were going to start singing for a minute, Bill, but...
No. I actually do when he's on in the pub. I do sing it out with it.
After you had a couple of buds, yeah?
Yeah.
Anyway, when do you think your book's going to be coming out?
Well, it's going to make publishers this year. It's still a book with that name. I says to Malcolm Robinson, bless him, recently, I says I should really try and get a title before I'm on Dave's show.
Yeah, okay. So you haven't got a title for it yet?
No, but it's not going to be my title. It's their title. They have to give me it.
Right.
It's like my book. I always say that. I'm just sort of like a cosmic ghostwriter. All the stuff they give me, I'm just doing it for them.
I mean, couldn't you call it something like The Light Beings or something? What are they?
No, that's a bit too simple, really.
Oh, right. That's what I called this show. Thanks. That's all right.
Tons of other stuff in it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
So I have to incorporate something to do with paranormal and all the other entities and things that come in with ETs and paranormal and UFOs and everything. So it has to be something that puts it all in one package. Yeah. So, but I'll try and keep it not too coming. What I'm waiting on there is my son, who's top 50 in the world tattoo artist, got his own studio in York. He's doing 20 bits of artwork for my book, David.
Is he?
He's still got 20 bits to do.
Wow.
He's done the logo for my website's going to be on in a few months. He's done a right good job of that. The logo on that, which I'm getting printed on T-shirts and stuff. I'm going to get some done and wear them up in Scotland and other places. But he's got a lot of artwork to do in it because of COVID and other things and messing people's businesses up. He's had to get back into that. But he will do them, and I can actually visualise his artwork in some of my chapters when I haven't got most bits of the chapters in my book. I've got photographs in. I've tried to incorporate photographs when these things have happened to me in each chapter. It's important. But there's some bits that were missing, and my son's a brilliant artist. He's doing some drawings and artwork to go in with it. And he's got about 20 to do. Even just on Little Rocky. I've changed the title of that chapter now to Rocky's Encounter when I was going off to the field at 1 o'clock in the morning. Because he was biting at my bottom of my Wrangler jeans, trying to stop me going out the door. He wouldn't go upstairs to Vic and stay downstairs till I come back from fields in York. And didn't seem to want me to go out that night. And then, lo and behold, I just got my front wheel of my bike out the door. He's biting at me. I'm trying to make sure that he stays in. And then, I'll just tell you a little bit on this. 3 entities appeared at the end of my pathway. Not a drive, it's a path. But they were like, well, they were cats. But they were normal cats. They actually looked like they were cloned. Straight away I noticed that. That's a bit. Apart from their eyes glowing, you don't normally see 3 cats sitting in your pathway at 1 o'clock in the morning.
No, you didn't.
That's not right to start with. Then apart from that, I called them like traffic lights. I told you and Jill about this at your house, do you remember?
I think you did, yeah. I remembered something about the cats. Yeah.
Yeah, I mentioned it to your wife, Jill, and that, when we had us round, bless you, and giving me Budweiser and looking after me and Vic at your house.
Is that Budweiser again?
Well, these entities, which were cats, they had stripes on them, which I checked afterwards on the photographs, and he'd eventually photographed 2 of them, not 3. The stripes on them, like Tommy cats, matched exactly. Well, that one right either. Plus their eyes were glowing and changing colours, literally like traffic lights. And their eyes were bigger. And if you looked into their eyes close, it was, again, is this thing about interdimensional. It felt like if you looked into their eyes and they sucked you in, you were going into another dimensional place somewhere. And it just felt like you were going in anywhere in the universe. It was like an opening in their eyes. Well, that's weird. But apart from all that, what got me was my little dog, Rocky, at the time, spotted them, stopped pulling at the bottom of my jeans to stop me going out. And of course, like most dogs, to him, oh right, cats are on my territory. I'll chase them off. Yeah. We legged it down the path to have a go at him, even though there was 3 of them. He wasn't bothered. He never got within 6 foot of them, David. In unison, these 3 entities, I don't know what they were, tilted their heads forward, like doing choreography together, and beams of light shot out their eyes, and they pancaked him. And I thought, what the heck? You've killed me critter. Now I'm naffed off. And it got real complicated after that. It took me about 15 to 20 minutes to get him back in. And there's loads of interaction because even though they'd zapped him and his eyes went white, I thought his eyes were all over and they went white. And he was pancaked out. His legs spread out and everything.
Yeah, just out cold.
Yeah. But the door was still open. I was telling these entities off because they'd done that to my dog and I said, you better be alright. Or you, whoever you are, we've got a problem here. He got up, but still with his eyes white. So he couldn't see where he was going. But he got up and he didn't listen to me at all. And they like took, it was really weird. It's like, they took control of the whole scenario. It was like being in a weird bit of a movie thing being set up. And they seemed to take control of everything, including me. And I thought, well, there's some tests going on here. He walked over the road with them, with his white eyes. 3 of them escorted him. Went onto the grass verge over the road and laid down again in front of him, pancaked out on the grass. I told him to get his butt in, behind me with the door open. He wasn't listening to me at all. Walked over the road with them, and this was like an Egyptian thing, you see, with the statues and stuff.
Yeah.
Even though they were still looking like cats, sat either side of him, 2 of them, and then one came down and laid in front of him. You know, like the Sphinx things laid down. And then they all just put their eyes on me, looking at us. And then I was chatting about the light beings again. They would go back to your light beings, but you did good on that poster. Then I asked the light beings to come and give me an hand. I don't know what's going on here. And where have these entities come from? And I won't bother where they come from or how. I said, I better get my critter back, or I'm going to be livid, to say the least. So, loads of things happened after that. In the end, when I did get him back in, one of them, one part of it, walked off and almost turned its head round, almost like 360 degrees, looking at me when I was telling it off. And I'm talking about the good light beings and energy that I connect with. And I says, you better be being good wherever you are, and I need my critter back. Otherwise I'm going to get really annoyed here. So in the end, I got him. The other 2 separated. I picked him up, brought him back in, and got him on the couch for about 4 or 5 minutes. Checked his heartbeat and stuff, and it was racing like nobody's business. Going mental was his ticker. His eyes were still white. So I got my hands on him, and my left arm, which apparently has got some energy, put it on his head and his chest and everything to calm him down. And then suddenly, I felt his heartbeat going back to a normal rhythm, and his eyes rolled back. And I thought, oh, right, you're all right, kidder. Right, and I looked at him, I thought, are you okay? It's something I've got to do. And I thought him was all right, so I left him. So I could see he was back in order a bit. He just laid down like flummoxed on couch. Didn't know what the heck had happened to him. And I thought, I hope they haven't gone. I have no bloody pictures. 2 of them, luckily, were left. And I photographed them. They'd spread across the road. I stood in the middle of the road. And I thought, I actually said this on another show before. I feel like Clint Eastwood here, now in this spaghetti western movie. And I've got to shoot you, but with a camera. Do you move? Well, that's a picture of you. And I did. I got a few pictures of them, just 2 of them. When I'd finished taking pictures of them, they dematerialised from the bottom up and vanished. But the last thing that went was the eyes. They just switched off like light bulbs. In fact, one of them didn't quite switch both eyes off. One did both eyes off at the same time. One, I thought, you're showing off. It switched one eye off, left the other one lit up. And the other one that was lit up had a slice to it, like half the moon. And then it switched it off. Well, and I got that on film, but only on still shots. That was another crazy night.
Well, I'll tell you what, something else has just come to mind. You actually took a photo of what looked like a fairy as well at one point, didn't you? Outside that church.
Oh yes, Confessor Church, yeah. What's that paper? Oh, the Sunday Post in Scotland did a big story on it. And they put Arthur Conan Doyle's the pictures in with it. I am actually going to Arthur Conan Doyle Centre in a few weeks' time to meet Anne in there and get her book. She's going to sign up for me. And I'm going to do some filming around Arthur Conan Doyle Centre. Nick Kyle wanted me to stay in there overnight. Actually, to take Vic there to stay overnight. Vic ain't going to stay in Arthur Conan Doyle Centre overnight because it's got Aleister Crowley connections and other things.
Yeah.
and some dodgy things have happened in there. But it's definitely still connected with Arthur Conan Doyle. So I'm going to go there in a few weeks' time. I'm not staying overnight with Vic. Vic wouldn't anyway. But sometime, and Nick's going to arrange it with folk, and I won't be going to sleep. I will go in there and stay all night. I'm bothered if Alistair Crowley turns up or not from his does, and I'll try and do some filming in there. But the one at that church, that's also been in an Italian magazine, you know. A friend of mine, Osvaldo, Italy, I didn't know they'd put it in an Italian mag. I sent it to Malcolm a bit back that it had gone in there. But that again was like an orb, like that I saw, at the front of the gardens of that church first. There was about 2 or 3 cars at traffic lights outside Koski's pub. And I see this ball of light. Actually, it wasn't round, it was more oval shaped. And it had like a blue corona around it, hovering about 10 or 11 feet off the ground. And I'm looking at that. I went to chat, what's that then? I thought, oh, right, this is going to be good. So I started taking some pictures of it. Some guys pulled up at the traffic lights, because there's 3 sets of traffic lights there, Koski's pub. This is like that midnight. And I could hear him saying in the motors, I think that guy's had a few beers tonight. He's looking at that driveway there and he's chatting to himself. And I thought, it was quite big, this light. I thought, why the hell can't they see that? And I'm taking pictures of it. Then it didn't zap behind the back of the church, just floated. And I thought, right, I'll go round back at church now. I hope that's still there. So I goes round back at church where I've been filming for years. And then, lo and behold, it was. But it had gone a bit higher up off the ground, about 15 foot around, next to a drain pipe with a bit of lead guttering on it. And you've seen the pictures where it was at. So I see that ball of light still there, and I took a picture of it. And then I looked dumbstruck when I looked up back at my digital camera, because it had little wings and arms and legs. And that wasn't what I was looking at with naked eye. And I thought, what the hell's happened there? And as soon as I got the picture, again like a lot of these mysterious lights and visitors do, didn't fly off or anything, just switched off like a light bulb and disappeared. I only got one shot of it round the back, but at the front, I have got some pictures of it hovering over the driveway when it was a oval ball of light. So that has been a remarkable. That we worked out is about 10 inches or so big. I've got a guy from Bioinsect Department from York University I went to see. Malcolm, as you know, helped me with that for about 3 months, sent it out to loads of universities, 40 odd of them, and it was sent to Natural History Museum, to David Attenborough and stuff. We never got a reply. What a surprise. We still sent it to him. He's not going to get involved in this ball game. No, I didn't blame him. But it was still sent to him anyway, and other universities. Most of them were coming back, oh, it might be a minchie, an African moth, flipping heck. Loads of little insects and things that came out with. Nothing matched at all. So I went to see this guy who's in his 70s, well renowned, and I can tell you his name because he's putting his name in the book. And he came over to it. I went to see him at the Bioinsect at York University, and he had a look at the pictures and says, you took that from 21 feet. So I went back the next day and did a little simple test. I put a piece of string on 2 canes, garden canes, and I measured the angle on string from the rock on the next to the rockery, next to the church wall, the angle it was at, and measured how far it was away from me, because that gives a better perspective how big it was likely to be, and how my camera could have captured something that big. And it measured around 21 feet away. So I shows this fellow it, what's his name now? Jeff Oxford, from Bioinsect Department, top renown. He was actually going to back me up and send a report, because there's something about fairies had been in the Daily Telegraph paper. He says, I'll back you up with press if you want, Bill. He says, how long have you been teaching here at your university then? He says, oh, 18 decades, and he was semi-retired. I says, the students you're still teaching, and your colleagues at York Uni, like I get a lot, you're going to ridicule it and take mickey out of you, mate. And he wasn't actually bothered about that. He says, what you filmed there? He was stunned by it. I says, I'll tell you something. I don't know what it is, but I says, I'll tell you what it isn't. And it ain't no bloody insect.
Yeah, well, it certainly doesn't look like one. It does actually look like a fairy. Is that going to go in your book? I presume it is.
Of course it is. But we've come down to it some sort of elemental, and I think these entities, whatever they are, shapeshift a bit as well. And that was how it wanted to appear to me that night.
Yeah.
But he's backing me up in that. He says, I'll agree with you there. That does look as at least about 10 inches big. He also said, the size of it and the wings things that are on it, whatever they are, he said it's not aerodynamic either. He says that couldn't be up there. And you can see off it, it's not flapping its wings or anything, because they'd be blurred. He said it was like billy stamped in the air, stationary. Like it just stuck there. So he picked up on all that. And then he also noticed, you've got a big haversack there, he heard, Bill. You've got some old photos there, so I showed him. Well, I was in there for over 2 hours. When he looked through me the X-Files that day, he was flummoxed completely. What the hell's all this haversack you got in here? And then he came across pictures. If we go back to it again, my left arm glowing. When I went into his office at York University, he shook hands with me, put his arm on my shoulder. Come on, show me this picture from this church. I'm intrigued to see it. And when I left, he said, nice to see you, Bill. Here's my phone number. Here's the email address. We'll stay in touch. Let me know how this develops and stuff. But he didn't shake hands with me. Well, he tried to. He just went on my fingertips. Because remembered on the photographs, pictures of my left arm glowing. It made him a bit nervous, David. So that was funny.
Yeah, when you talk about your left arm glowing, you know, I've had thoughts about that. You know, we were talking about interdimensional beings. I wonder if maybe your arm was actually being invited through the dimensional curtain or something. It was something to do with that. What do you think on that?
Well, do you know, because of what happened to me at Roslin Chapel, like 18 months or so ago, and I felt, like I told you, like my wrist had been lassoed on that arm, near my wristwatch, and pulled towards that stone. Again, I thought then, my hand shouldn't be solid. I'm supposed to do something with this. I've actually had done, sneakily on a few people, I did a wee bit of healing. I weren't feeling so good. But, and I didn't touch them, I just put my hand near them and did some stuff and sort of made them feel a bit better. Yeah. It's still now, during I'm talking now, I can feel it getting heavy again. But it has stopped when I take still shots from my digital camera. Even the camera's now not picking up the glow. On top of that one, the thing you got to remember, I haven't told you about before, maybe not, for 7 months, one Saturday afternoon, I was having a snack on a tray with a little rocky next to me on the couch in the living room. A right sunny day. Vic was sat where I am now at the computer, office in corner, and I suddenly got a massive jabbing pain, like an energy hit my right hand. And I says to Vic, something's just hit my right hand, and it really hurt. And I jumped up with a shock of it, and my dog did, and dropped my snack off the plate and that on my tray on the floor. But I says to Vic straight away, something's happened to my right hand. I've got to get my camera quick. Over on top of the couch behind me, I did photograph my right hand, and this is in daylight, so it wasn't even dark, no flash on camera, and my right hand from my wrist, not from the left hand, from my elbow, had a clean cut across it of white light, like I had a white glove on, and my right hand was glowing, but cut clean, never went down to my elbow, and I filmed that for 7 months, and then that stopped. So I don't know what that was about, but that lasted for 7 months. I took hundreds of pictures, but on that one, unlike me left arm from my elbow, that only ever did it from round my wrist to my fingertips, but started glowing white. And I felt the impact of that when something hit my hand in daylight. I said, something's just hit my right hand, Vic. And some things happen to me, I just get camera out straight away, because I know I'm supposed to film something. Yeah.
Very strange. Well, Bill, that's absolutely fascinating, a lot of what you told us tonight. Like you said, I don't think any of us can understand what's going on, especially you. You don't know what's going on, do you? But
no, cosmic college, David.
Yeah, I imagine this will probably carry on for the rest of your life, won't it? And I'm certainly looking forward to when your book comes out. I think there's a little bit in there from...
you mentioned in it, because you did that filming, remember, that light at
yeah, I got
Forest, didn't you?
I got a strange photo from Rendlesham Forest. It's like a beam of light with it's really strange.
Some yellow energy in it. Do you remember?
Yeah, it's a really strange photo. It was it's like I said, it was taken in complete darkness, but it's just like a beam of light goes right, it's just in this one line, isn't it? I'll put it on the Paranormal Dimensions page, actually, if anyone wants to see it. But that's just one of many photos that's going to be in Bill's book.
There's hundreds going in. And not just mine, I've got other folks from all over the world going in it.
Yeah.
That have sent to me with some of the write-ups. It's important that folk need to see this is a global phenomena and it's real. Whatever is happening, we just have to get around it. Same as the UFOs and ET stuff. All that's always been real. It's nonsense now trying to prove about aliens and things.
Yeah. The thing is, I think we all know they exist. I mean, the UFOs do definitely exist, and where they come from and all that is another matter. But we all know they exist. I think, anyone that's seen them knows they exist anyway. But as for your book, we don't know what the title's going to be. But if anyone's listening to this, take a note of Bill Rooke. Because I imagine that's what you'll be called on it, there, Bill. You're not going to call yourself Alien Bill Rooke, are you?
No, of course it'll have AKA.
Also known as Alien Bill, okay. But I imagine it'll go on Amazon the same as all the others, will it?
Yes, that's arranged with our publisher and stuff, and bookshops that it's going to, and it'll be on Amazon and stuff. It's going to be quite a big book. It's going to be A4 size. It's American A4 size, my publisher said, probably about half an inch smaller than English size version. But I wanted that big anyway.
Yeah, call that.
Photographs going in full colour. This is going to be full of full colour photographs.
Yeah, so
it's important.
So it's not going to be really a cheap book, is it? It's going to be, because it's hardback as well, you're going to try and do, aren't you? Although I
thought now, because of what I'm putting in it, I thought it should now be hardback. I'm also planning, from those pictures that are in there, I'm getting them blown up with best ones I can get to blow the pictures up without digitalising them too much. And they go all pixelated and stuff. Some of them, photographers have had a look at my pictures, and some of them can go at least, some of them 3 to 4 foot. They said would be pretty okay. Some might not be, but I'm having them done in pictures and in frames. I want these in people's houses and hotels and bars all over the place. Not just stuck in a book. They're too important. They have to be on people's walls and stuff.
Sure.
I'm eventually going to get them also on people's T-shirts. Now, this should be talked about all the time and get people's minds ticking over.
Yeah.
What's going on?
Yeah, there are.
Fucking enough.
I think there's a few lucky people that have got one in pictures in frames, haven't there?
Yes.
Because you very kindly donated a photo in a frame to the Colonel Holt conference, which somebody won in the raffle.
That's right. It was a guy from London.
Yeah.
I think he was called Joshua or somebody.
I didn't catch his name.
Took outside the Berlin.
Yeah, I think he was quite pleased with it, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, he got 2 actually in that. I spliced it, didn't I? One from the car park at the back of the Berlin in Woodbridge, and one outside the front. And I had Ian Shanes with me, not on the one in the car park, but the one out front, with that memorial thing with Queen Victoria, and to do with the First World War, I think it was, outside the Berlin in Woodbridge. And he couldn't see these lights then at the time, couldn't Ian Shanes. And I said, there's a blue light flashing at the side of the Berlin. Well, do you remember that? And then there's all this appeared. That same light, 2 years later, has appeared in my back garden over the roof of my house. Wow. Almost identical. Almost looks like it matches virtually. Strange, isn't it?
It is strange. Yeah, there's lots of strange things going on in your life, Bill. It's I know you're out sort of most nights having a look to see what goes on, and you seem to be able to call.
You know, if I don't, I feel like I'm being rude.
Yeah, I know.
You come to me.
Yeah.
And like I'm ignoring them, so I feel obliged to David, really.
It seems like you actually invite them, doesn't it? When you go out, they actually come to you.
Oh yeah, I do ask them. Pay if you wish and do whatever, and sometimes I try and ask them, so they're paid in certain forms, can you shapeshift a bit? You know, I sent you one, didn't you? You've got that one.
Yeah,
That blue orb next to my back edge, and it's got like a laser light at the side of it, with a slight kink in it, and I've called it the Star Wars.
Indeed,
picture,
yeah.
From the saber light, but next to a big blue orb. Malcolm Robinson's seen that one, and a few other people have. Stunning, that. It shows how that they can just interact and appear in different ways. Where they get the energy from, and how they come through to our realm of dimension we're in, and power up like that, I don't know how they do it, but they just do.
Because, I mean, the light spectrum is, we can only see a certain part of it, don't we? So, obviously, they're in a different spectrum somewhere. It's like you say, we can't explain it.
No, and it'll take a lot of fathoming him out. But the majority of it is harmless. It's not to worry about.
Yeah.
At all. No. Just rock and roll with it.
Which is all good news for us, isn't it? Well, we're going through enough on this planet as it is, I think.
Got enough on your dinner plates.
Absolutely, yeah. Anyway, Bill, it's been great. Should we leave it there? And
that's fine, David. Thank you for that.
No, been enjoying talking to you again. And no doubt we'll be hearing a lot more about what's going on with your beings and everything. And
I'll be informed when I'm in Scotland in a few weeks, David, and see what happens there.
Yeah, please do. And obviously, if you're ever down my way, you know you're always welcome to come in for a cup of coffee or a meal or whatever.
Oh, that'd be great. And you're on the coast now, even better, you're on the coast.
I'm on Canby Island now.
Loads of things seen all around UK over the coastline.
Yeah, there is. I'll be glad to start getting back out again. Anyway, Bill, right, thank you very much, and been great talking to you, and I'll let you go and have a drink. Go and have a bud now.
I've already got one.
You've already got one? I thought you might.
Thanks for that, David. It's been a pleasure.
All right, mate.
It's good you have so much interest in this, and you did name the programme right with your poster about the light beings.
Well, I thought that's what your main forte is, really, the light beings. I couldn't really... You know, it was difficult to try and choose a name for the show, really, so I just thought...
That was good enough, because there is a connection with these, with a lot of humanity and other parts of the universe.
Yeah.
And there's also an intelligence about them.
Indeed.
No doubt about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay then, Bill. Right, thank you. Once again, thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again soon. Take care of yourself, and say hello to Vic for me.
I will do, David. Thank you for that, and look after yourself. We'll be in touch.
Yeah, cheers, mate. Take care of yourself. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye, David.
Bye-bye, mate. Right, you've been listening to Paranormal Dimensions on the Paranormal UK Radio Network. That was Bill Rooke. I look forward to speaking to you again next week. Thanks for joining me.
It's so important that always, especially inside of the UFO community, no matter what, we always have open minds. We have to. We absolutely have to.
Paranormal Dimensions is a regular feature on Mondays on the Paranormal UK Radio Network.